Hi everyone, this is Broken Angel, and welcome to my January recap of Mark Renee's one-year plan to learn to draw. Since this was my first month of consistent drawing in a long time, my main focus was rebuilding fundamentals by tightening my line confidence, improving my proportions, and developing a deeper understanding of form and perspective through repetition. Throughout January, I worked through gesture drawing, perspective basics using simple to increasingly complex shapes, and character line art studies. As I talk through each week, I'll be showing time-lapse footage so you can follow along with my progress. Without further ado, let's take a look at how the month went. Week 1 was all about shaking off rust and getting used to drawing consistently again. Day 1 started with 40 basic shapes, half squares, half circles, going over each line twice. It was rough at first, but as I went, the control and accuracy got noticeably better. Considering the break I had taken, I was happy with how it turned out. On day 2, I added gesture drawing into the mix. Using Mark Renee's How to Draw Poses in 2 Minutes video, I did 3 sets of 4-minute poses. My observation and confidence need work, but for a first try it wasn't bad. Afterward, I drew 24 shapes, which felt better thanks to the warm-up from gestures. Day 4 was my first line art study of the month, Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan Season 4. The proportions were off, especially the head and the arm on the right, but my line quality was improving, and it helped me see exactly what needed work. By day 7, my gestures were the best of the week, still slow, but with much better flow. And I wrapped up the week with a line art study of Porco from Attack on Titan. Some facial proportions were off, but the hair and line confidence were solid. Overall, week 1 was a solid warm-up week, rebuilding consistency, regaining line control, and getting comfortable with drawing every day again. Week 2 introduced more complexity, especially with shapes, and this is where I started to feel real improvement. Day 1 had 51 shapes split between boxes, cylinders, and cones, moving on to level 2 from Draw Like a Star's video. Cylinders were the hardest because of the ellipses, but cones were surprisingly still solid. Day 2 had gestures again, this time with a minute of observation before each pose. Estimation improved, and the shapes afterwards were noticeably better, especially with consistency. Day 3 was a struggle. Lots of lines took multiple tries, and perspective was trickier than I expected. But even with that, several shapes still turned out well. This was a good reminder that progress isn't always linear. Day 4's line art study of Stark from Frieren was ambitious for my skill level at the time. The head was too small, the sash was wrong, and several details were missing. But the overall drawing was still solid, and the hair and arm came out well. Day 6 was Fern from the same scene. This was where I felt observation started to pay off the most. The hair, clothes, and facial features were captured well, even if the eye placement and arm angle weren't perfect. Day 7 wrapped up with good gestures and a line art study from Attack on Titan Season 3. The muscles, hair, and expression came out well, with only a few proportion issues. Overall, week 2 was a really big jump in quality, especially in observation and shape consistency. Week 3 was centered on combination shapes, attaching boxes, cylinders, and cones together. And this week gave me some of my strongest drawings so far. Day 1 warmed me up with another 50 shapes, and ellipses gave me trouble at first, but I improved as I went. Day 2 introduced combination shapes. Box-based combinations were the strongest, and adding center lines to cylinder cone combinations helped tremendously with perspective and consistency. Day 3 showed big improvement, especially in dividing shapes and keeping vanishing points aligned. Day 4 was Natsu from Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest. The head started strong, the scarf layers were captured well, and the torso angle matched the reference. The left arm needed work, but the drawing held together. Day 6 was Porco from his final scene in Attack on Titan Season 4. Even though I forgot to record, the structure and details turned out well. Day 7 wrapped the week up with gestures and a line art study of Urza from Fairy Tale's Key of the Starry Sky arc. The torsos and the gesture drawings were too thin, so I made a note to fix that going forward. Even with that, the line art study had great attention to detail, especially the head and visible eye. Overall, week 3 had some of my best drawings of the month and the biggest leap in observation. Week 4 moved me into level 3 shapes, bending tubes and boxes, and this week had the most improvement in line art and observation. Day 1 had the final combination shapes, and I was happy with how many turned out. Day 2 moved straight into level 3 shapes and gesture drawings. The gestures were a mix of strong exaggeration and week 1 style mistakes, but that's part of learning. The bent tubes were tricky but promising for a first attempt. Day 3 was one of my most confident days of drawing shapes, and I even created a box from imagination that I was genuinely proud of. Day 4 was a drawing of Craft from Fear in Season 1. The hair, ears, and mouth were done very well, and the clothes and crest came out accurately. Even though I had to fix the wrist, the final drawing showed real improvement. Day 6 was Levi from Attack on Titan Season 3, easily my best line art day. The hair was clean, the shoulders had solid structure, and even with a slightly thick neck, the anatomy looked good. Day 7 wrapped with gestures and a line art study of Flame from Fear in Season 1 during a flashback scene. The hair placement, necklace, and clothing folds were captured well. The facial angles were off, but overall, it was a strong improvement. I forgot to record a couple of the days, but the drawings were good regardless. Week 4 had my biggest growth in accuracy and line art confidence. The last 3 days of January were focused on finishing level 3 shapes and refining gestures. Day 1 had 24 shapes split between boxes and tubes. The ellipses still needed work, but the boxes from imagination looked great. Day 2 started with gestures, and they had good exaggeration and stronger torsos. The shapes had better ellipse angles and box construction. Day 3 was my best day of shapes for the month. Most ellipses for the tubes were correct in both width and angle. The boxes were solid, though extreme twists remain a mystery, so if you know the trick to them, please let me know. And this wrapped up everything for the month. Overall, January was a strong start to the year. My line confidence improved, my observation skills sharpened, and my understanding of perspective, especially with cones, cylinders, and boxes, grew a lot. Gesture drawings also improved, though I still need to work on speed and avoid leaning poses. As I head into February, I'll be moving on to one-point perspective, head construction, and refining my line art even more, particularly on faces. I'll also keep practicing shapes in my own time, especially the more extreme box twists. If you're on your own learning journey, or have any advice, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. With that, that's January down, and many more months to go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in February.